and some reminders and expectations. So please keep your microphone on mute. You can use the chat option to make a comment. I believe we have the Q&A function enabled too, so you can put your questions in through there. What I will suggest though is if you could please wait until the end of the session to ask any of your questions, just because we might end up answering them in the presentation anyway. If you experience any technical difficulties or need some technical support, please use the raise your hand function and a member of staff will reach out to you privately. And then lastly, just minimize your distractions by turning off your notifications, putting on do not disturb. If you have a bunch of tabs open that might distract you, maybe closing those, putting your phone on mute. But other than that, we will keep going. So from this presentation, we have 6 key points that we're hoping you'll take away from it. The first one is reflecting on the relationship of your academic programs and your future career options / your professional and personal goals. We hope you'll be able to clearly identify program eligibility for all types of programs at UTM. And with that, be able to articulate what a legitimate program combination is, or a combination of posts, and what combinations are available to you, explaining the timing and process of enrolling into your programs, including the notions of adding temporary or placeholder programs, dropping programs, and then requesting alternative programs. Understanding your next steps in transitioning into a new academic plan. And then lastly, be able to identify university services and resources available to you to help you in this process of program transition. So for the folks who are joining us today, you might find yourself fitting into one of these categories or maybe a combination of these questions when considering your programs. So if you're not eligible yet, it might be because you didn't earn enough credits, so maybe you're under 4.0. Maybe you didn't complete the required courses or maybe the required grade for those courses, or maybe your CGPA didn't meet the cutoff. So some solutions to those are if you're under 4.0 credits, maybe it's about completing the credits in the fall, winter, or the next summer session and applying in the next program round. If you don't have the required courses or the minimum grades, maybe it's a matter of taking those courses and reaching those minimum grades, again, in the fall, winter, or next summer, depending on your circumstances. And then similar with the CGPA cutoff, again, using the fall, winter, and the next summer session to work towards improving your CGPA. So you may already be familiar with the program types at UTM, but just a brief overview. UTM has 3 program types. So each program is either assigned type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 programs have unlimited enrollment. They also don't have program entry requirements. Because they're unlimited enrollment, meaning they have unlimited space, it's automatic enrollment. So if you were to apply to the program, it goes through automatically, and you would just be able to start working towards the program requirements. And so you could apply anytime once you're on track to completing 4.0 credits. And for type 1 programs, because you can apply anytime, you wouldn't have to wait for the application round. Now, for our type 2 and type 3 programs, these have entry requirements, and the entry requirements can be courses, minimum grades in those courses, and also sometimes CGPA requirements. All of these details would be in the academic calendar. And for type 2 and type 3 programs, you would only be able to apply during our application rounds. So our round 1 period in the spring, and then round 2 in the summer. So, and the application period dates are available on our program selection guide. We will actually be providing a PDF copy of this presentation, so you will have access to all of these links. But all the dates of when you can apply and then also the dates and deadlines to accept an invitation are on this website. So when considering that applying to your program later, some things to keep in mind are you close to meeting the program entry requirements? And also, is it both academically realistic and financially feasible for you to apply to your program next year? So if your answer is yes, and you are close to meeting the program entry requirements for your preferred program, you can also use the CGPA calculator to help you determine if it's an attainable goal. So let's say if you were interested in biology for health science major and the um, GPA requirement was a 2.5. So you can use the C2PA calculator to see from where I'm at now, if I take X amount of courses and get these grades, would it be realistic to get 2.5 or would I be able to hit a CGPA of 2.5? And that can help you in your decision making then, seeing if it's a feasible option for you. So some things to help you determine your next steps with that is one, setting your academic goals. Consider your timelines as well. So if graduating in an X amount of years is important to you, um, or if you're considering timelines of how long will it take you to meet the entry requirements as well, considering the grades needed. So again, looking at the GPA calculators, tuition costs, especially for our deregulated programs, and then also enrollment controls. So you may have experienced this already with the past fall-winter enrollment. Some programs, their upper year courses are either restricted to students who are already in the program, or they might give priority to students who are in the program as well. So that's something to consider. Now, when you're exploring your options, like we've been discussing, is it realistic to apply next year? If your answer is no, or you're unsure, this is when you can start considering an alternative pathway. Now, a very important note is that modifying your plan or your program choices does not mean that you failed. There are so many students who enter UTM thinking they're going to pursue one program, but for many, many reasons will end up switching. I know when I joined, I ended up changing my plans as well. And I actually found a program that I never thought I'd love. But after taking courses, I was like, this is great. This is exactly what I want to do. So when you're considering maybe why you're focused on this one program or your first choice was this program, you can kind of do a little bit of reflecting and think, maybe are you feeling some pressure from external influences, whether that be family, friends, work, etc. Um, Also consider, can you achieve your long-term goals and career goals in a different way? Uh, One thing we employ a lot with our students is reviewing your academic record and looking at what courses did you do well in? Could that be a program or become one of your programs? Another thing is maybe if there was a specific aspect of a course, what exactly about the course did you enjoy? Um, and if you have some options from there, then look at the entry requirements and look at the enrollment controls and see if that's an option for you. So some tips. First, combining programs to increase your marketability and skills. Consider programs that enhance your individual development. Use the academic calendar to determine program entry requirements. So the academic calendar is your best friend when it comes to program entry. Um, the program selection guide is also a great tool when it comes to how to apply to post. We also have the alternative program options listed on our program selection guide. And then Degree Explorer is also a really, really great tool. The planner function on Degree Explorer allows you to add not only hypothetical courses, but you can add hypothetical programs and see, sort of plan out, okay, what's my timeline? What would it look like if I pursue these programs versus these programs? And so if you haven't started using it, it's a really great tool to sort of play around with and track the requirements on. So now we're going to get into some student scenarios. So our first student is Noor. Noor thought she was going to study sociology and criminology, but she didn't end up enjoying her first year classes and wants to make a change. Her top two concerns is that she isn't sure what programs to select now, and she also doesn't want all of her first year courses to have been a waste of time. So Noor mentioned she wants to pursue law school after graduation, And knowing that, she knows that she can study any program because a high CGPA is more important than what her program of study she pursues is when considering law school. She does a little bit of reflecting and sees that her highest grades were in her elective courses, Ant 101 and Ant 102. So she takes a look at the anthropology program and it requires ISP 100, which is a course she hasn't taken yet. And she isn't sure what other programs could use her first year sociology courses. So, what are her next steps then? Firstly, would be to review the academic calendar some more, see what other programs might be a good fit. I think we have a little over 180 programs, so there are so many options out there. But the academic calendar has all the information. She could meet with an academic advisor to ensure that she's taking the right courses to help meet her academic goals and make sure she's taking the right entry requirements for her programs. And then she can also meet with a career counselor to discuss what a change in program would mean for her chances of getting into law school. So if Noor decides that she wants to apply to the anthropology specialist and then the ethics law and society minor, what does this mean for her? So in terms of her academic plan, she would need to select a temporary program combination as a placeholder. So this is something we mentioned at the beginning. When students have 4.0 credits, they need to be in what's called a minimum program combination, which is either one specialist, two majors, or a major and two minors. Now, for students who may not be in their desired post yet or are shifting their plans around a bit, they can use our Type 1 programs to act as a placeholder because they don't have entry requirements. You wouldn't need to complete courses towards your placeholder if that is their sole purpose and you plan on switching it later. But it helps you to be able to access enrollment for next year. She would also need to take ISP 100 and earn a grade of 63 at least. And she can take 200 level ANT courses and proceed as if she was in the anthropology program already. She can also pursue the ethics law and society minor, where her first year sociology courses would be applying. In terms of her financial considerations, both programs are regulated, and so her fees would remain the same. So now, can Noor achieve her goals with an alternative plan? So considering the specialist in anthropology, it's a type 2 program, meaning so long as she meets the minimum, she should get an invite, and it has no deregulated fees. Noor can request the program on Acorn once she completes ISP 100. For the minor in ethics law and society, this is a type 1 program, meaning it can be entered at any time. And she already has courses counting towards the program because her first year social courses will count towards the requirements. She will just need to take some philosophy courses moving forward to finish the program. So Noor modified her academic plan with the support of her academic advisor and career counselor. She ended up completing her degree with a CGPA of 3.85, and she applied to Dalhousie for law school. Now, for our second scenario, we have Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann has two goals after her first year. The first is to get into the major in computer science and the major in linguistics. And the second is to complete the UTM co-op internship program to get some professional work experience in her preferred industry. Now, program entry requirements for computer science would include a minimum CGPA of 3.3 with a minimum of 80 in CSE 148 and a minimum of 80 in Math 102, as well as the completion of ISP 100 and one of the first year calculus pairings. The program entry requirements for the linguistics program is Lin 101 and 102 with a minimum grade of 63 in each. After her first year, her CGPA is at a 2.4. She earned a 68 in CSE 148, a 70 in Lin 101, a 60 in Lin 102, and she failed Math 102, but passed ISP 100. She also only completed 3.5 credits or full credit equivalents, and she was originally in 5, but she ended up dropping her elective Italian 100. So Karen, in her reflection, wants to do computer science but decides not to apply for the major in computer science. What can she do to achieve her program and UTM CIP goals? So first step is doing some research. One is maybe meeting with the program advisor to discuss her UTM CIP eligibility, meeting with an academic advisor to consider some different program options, and then also meeting with a career counselor to explore career options. So maybe in her meeting with an advisor, they consider pursuing maybe the minor in computer science, a major in linguistics, and a minor in the geospatial data science. Now for this slide, I'll pass it over to Claire. Oh, Claire, I think you're muted.
As usual, I'm always muted. Okay, so Carrie Ann came in to see a career counselor, and one of the things that I would suggest when you're coming to see a career counselor, you come with some questions. And some of the questions one of the questions she had was if she got into her programs, what sort of careers would be open to her? And students always ask these questions because they want to know if they take this program, then are they going to be employable? And we'll get into how counselors answer that question later on. Um, if she didn't get into the program, then of her choice, then can she still pursue certain careers in those areas? And then she wanted to know if she chose not to try to get into the preferred program, what other programs might be better for her? What kinds of careers would be open to her? So one of the things that we suggest as counselors is that students do some research and gain experience. So Carrie Ann wanted to gain experience after graduation, and she wanted to be competitive as a new grad. And so we suggested that because she didn't get into computer science, maybe to look at other options that has some of the same skills that she may use. And so she did some research and thought that the GIS program may be something that she could get engaged with. The skills that were involved were data skills and visual skills, which she liked because she's a visual person. And so what she did was she went looking for part-time work and summer employment to get some experience. She also kept linguistics because that's something that she had with when she was with computer science. And so she's currently sort of doing some research in what careers in linguistics and GIS would look like. One of the things we would refer her to is careers by major on our website because students can have a sense of the kinds of careers that are available through careers by major. She's also looking at part-time work and summer work to gain some skills. But here are some suggestions that counselors usually advise students to reflect and think about why they want to get into this career and whether it's a good fit for them. Check out resources and do some research and generate a plan B. So even if computer science didn't work, and maybe when she did some research in GIS, maybe that didn't work. So what is the next plan? Look at her strengths and interests and aptitudes that can sort of point her into other programs and gain skills and experience outside of the classroom to explore and prepare for various careers. And one of the things that we encourage students to think about is you gain academic skills, but I think what is coupled with that is the importance to build your communication skills, leadership skills, and teamwork skills, and skills of that nature that then you could transfer to any program. All right, so
Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. So now we'll consider, can Carrie Ann achieve her goals with an alternate plan? So with the minor in computer science, it is a limited enrollment program, but it has no deregulated fees. The program uh, requirements are a minimum grade in CSE 148 and one MAT 102, which gets determined annually by the department. Carrie Ann would be able to request the program on ACORE next March, provided she's on track to completing those 4.0 credits. An important note is that for this program, CR and NCR courses would not count towards the 4.0. So if you had a course where you applied the credit no credit policy and got a CR, it would not be included in the count when checking if you have 4.0 credits. So again, academic calendar is your best friend. On the academic calendar under the programs, it would the program information would list if that it is a requirement for them that it needs to be 4.0 credits with grades. Now, for the minor in the geospatial data science, it's a type 1 program, so Carrie Ann would be able to add this program and start working to the requirements already. And then the major in linguistics, it has second year entry requirements that are slightly different from the first year ones, which is just a grade of 67 in at least two of the 200 level linguistic courses listed in the academic calendar. And once she completes that, she'd be able to request the program next March, which is that spring round. So Carrie Ann had modified her academic plan with the support of her academic advisor, her career counselor, financial aid advisor, and the departmental advisor, and was able to achieve her career goals. She completed a 1-year UTM CIP internship with Hydro One. Now for our third scenario, I'm going to pass it over to Melanie.
Thanks, Nagarish. So we're going to look at Alex now. So Alex has two main goals. Ultimately, he wants to apply for the Master of Management and Professional Accounting, a short form MMPA program after he graduates. To get there, he's trying to get into the Commerce Specialist program at the undergraduate level. So after his first year, he's completed 4.0 credits and his CGPA is 1.46. So that means he's on academic probation. Alex needs a core GPA of at least 3.0, about 73%, in the following 3.0 credits and a minimum grade of a 63% in each of these credits in order for program admission consideration to the Commerce Specialist. So he needs the ECO 101, ECO 102, first year calculus combination, Management 120, and Management 101. Currently, he has a 1.95 CGPA in those core courses. So Alex is going to map out his grade goals using the CGPA calculator to see if it's attainable for him to get the required GPA to apply for the Commerce Specialist. So now he's worked really hard. He's raised his core GPA to a 2.70, but needs at least that 3.0 average in the required courses. So he has fallen short of his goal of that 3.0 average, but he still wants to ultimately apply to the MMPA program. So now he's looking at what are his options, what are his next steps. For Alex and for all students in this position, thinking of how they want to meet their ultimate goals, educated, informed decision-making is important. In order to accomplish that, it's really a good idea to meet with an academic advisor to determine alternate program options based on his academic interests and his skills. It's also very good to meet with a career counselor to determine how he can still meet those goals after graduation of applying to the MMPA program. So Claire, I'll defer to you on this slide. I think you might be mute, Claire.
All right, here we go. Thank you, Melanie. I mute because there are sort of distractions around. So questions. What is Alex's career vision? And it would be helpful if he shares that, or if students can share that with the career counselor. What is the vision? When you came into university, what were you thinking? And he wants to know also, how can he maximize his chances of getting into the MMPA program? Um, he wants to know how he can get skills and experience in business communication and leadership, and sort of what are some other similar programs. So we have suggestions that we make. One of them is to speak to an early CPA, somebody who is working as a CPA or a recent grad that's working in the area. He needs to research the sort of the program, the MMPA program. And usually they have these virtual open houses. He needs to go and ask reps questions. Um, just give me a second because my computer says it wants to restart. Um, Attend open houses, get questions, and talk to current students in the program. Also, he can look at the work study program that's offered and also check out economics internships and go to, for example, the career fair. We're having one next week, for example. And so those are ways in which students can get, or Alex could get more information. He feels that he's in discussing, and because he couldn't get into the program that he wanted, we looked at accounting, and he feels that he's suited for accounting because his family is in the field, but he doesn't know much more than the basics. And so we suggested that he takes in the job shadow program. And there is also another link, and it's called 10,000 Coffees. And that 10,000 Coffees link is where students can connect with alumni to ask questions around specific careers, where the alumni is at the time, what they're doing, and how did they get there. Alex wanted the MMPA program because he wanted because of the fast track aspect into the CPA. Unfortunately, it didn't seem that that would be possible. So we looked at options and realized that he could do the CPA with a BCom, which he didn't realize at the time. And so that, but he needs to get some experience in business. And so we are suggesting that he sort of either do a summer employment internship or something like that. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Claire. So Alex has determined that he's going to be eligible to apply for the major in economics during the next round of program selection. So the question is, can Alex achieve his long-term career goals with an alternate program plan? So modifying his program plan allows him to complete a business-related program without the deregulated fees that are associated with the Commerce Specialist program, as well as apply for the MMPA, the Master of Management and Professional Accounting program. And the only difference in duration is it's going to take him 27 months to complete the MMPA, compared to a student who did graduate with their Bachelor of Commerce degree through the Commerce Specialist program, who would then complete the 24-month stream. So after careful consideration, talking with the academic advisor, talking with the Career Center counselor, Alex decided not to pursue the specialist in commerce. He discovered he liked economics and calculus so much that he's now doing a specialist in economics instead. So those scenarios, hopefully that helped illustrate for you that it is possible to sort of change program pathways and still ultimately meet those long-term goals that you have in terms of your career and next steps after you complete your U of T degree. Now we're going to transition a bit and take a look at some tools to help you manage your CGPA. A lot of these examples that we just went through, the requirements for program admission to the programs required, minimum CGPAs, and we talked about using the grade calculator, things like that. But there are also other strategies where you can protect and manage your CGPA to position yourself for program admission. We're going to talk about dropping courses before the academic deadline, late withdrawal from courses, short form LWD, credit, no credit option, and then second attempt for credit. So dropping courses before the academic deadline. This is something that you would manage on Acorn, so you'd make the decision to drop the course. If you drop the course on Acorn before the academic drop deadline, which you find on the important dates section of the Office of the Registrar website, it sits there 24/7, tells you all the important dates. There will be no record that you were ever in the course on your academic record, your student record. You may get some refund for dropping the course, but it really depends on the timing of when you drop the course. Just be aware, as a general rule, financial refund deadlines are much earlier than academic drop deadlines. And then it may reduce your course load to part-time status. And that's really a flag for international students as well. So if you drop courses before the academic drop deadline, your overall course load may be reduced. There is no credit limit. You can do this process as many times as you want, drop as many courses as you wish for the duration of your studies. With, again, that sort of flag for international students, you want to be aware if there are any minimum course load requirements for immigration study permit purposes that you must follow. There's more information on our course enrollment page. And again, as Nagara said earlier in the presentation, we're going to be sharing a PDF of this presentation with you at the end, so you can access all of these links that you see and look into get further information on all of these topics that we're discussing. And as I mentioned before, you manage this process on Acorn. The next option is to late withdraw from the course after the drop date, after the academic drop date has passed. So this is an option to you. You can use this option for up to 3.0 credits over the duration of your undergraduate degree studies. Late withdrawing after the academic drop date will mean that the course will not impact your CGPA. So instead of getting a final grade in that course, you're going to see the notation LWD if you request to late withdraw. There is no refund if you're at the timing where you're late withdrawing from a course, just because, as I mentioned before, financial refund deadlines are much earlier than academic deadlines, so it's well past any financial refund deadline for any course that you're late withdrawing from. This option too does not reduce the number of credits taken, your course load. So this is a useful option, especially if you are an international student. As I mentioned before, there's a limit of 3.0 credits over the duration of your undergraduate degree studies to use this option. And just another note here is late withdrawing after the academic drop date may be seen as a red flag by some graduate or professional schools. You may want to check with the graduate or professional schools that you're interested in applying for, just to see how they consider the LWD notation when they're assessing for admission to their graduate or professional program. Again, we've provided links to managing your courses for more information about the LWD. And this process you do not do on Acorn. You have to request to late withdraw after the academic drop date online. And again, there's a link that we've provided for you that links to that request form. There is a little bit of a video. I don't know if we're going to be successful in playing it. Nagarj, do you want to try, or should we just leave it for the PDF?
Think we might leave it for the PDF. It's not
Sounds
giving me
good.
the option.
That's okay. That's okay. So there is a video, that right-hand side there is a video that's available about late withdrawal after the academic drop date on our website, and it is embedded in the PDF that we'll share with you at the end of the session, just so that you can review it if you would like. Credit, no credit. Credit, no credit is another option, and we alluded to this earlier in the session as well. This is an option that you do also manage on Acorn. If you request credit, no credit for a course, the course will not impact your CGPA. So once again, you're protecting your CGPA. You request credit, no credit for the course on Acorn, and instead of getting a final grade in the course, you'll get a CR notation if you pass the course, or an NCR notation if you do not pass the course. So again, the CR notation, NCR notation does not impact your CGPA. It's not factored into your CGPA. Credit, no credit, using this option, it does not reduce the number of credits taken per session, your overall course load. There is a 2.0 credit limit for to use the option of credit, no credit over the lifetime of your undergraduate degree studies. And again, using this option may also be seen as a red flag by some graduate professional schools. So you would want to follow up with those schools that you're interested in applying to get a sense of how they consider credit, no credit on student records. Again, more information is available on the Managing Your Courses webpage, and that will give you access to additional details. The other thing that is important to note about credit, no credit, generally, credit, no credit should be used only for courses that you're taking for elective or distribution purposes to meet your distribution requirements. Most departments, UTM departments, do not accept credit, no credit courses for the purposes of your program completion. If you're thinking of crediting, no crediting a course that is required for your program, if you are already in your program, you want to check with the department academic advisor within the department to see if they will still accept the course toward program requirements if you use credit, no credit for it. So just keep that in mind. Credit, no credit, primarily for distribution requirements or elective courses. And lastly, the second attempt for credit policy. The SAC is the acronym that you'll often hear when we're talking about second attempt for credit. This second attempt for credit is a process where you can repeat a course that you passed on your first attempt. Some students need to repeat the course and retake the course to try and achieve a higher grade for program admission, or they want to try and achieve a higher grade to positively influence their CGPA. So second attempt for credit is a process that you can use to try and get a better, higher grade on your second attempt at the course. Students can only repeat a course that they previously passed one time. So in order to do this, it's a two-step process. You have to, first of all, submit something called a course enrollment exception form. That's step one. And the reason that you submit that course enrollment exception form is because Acorn is not going to allow you to automatically re-enroll in a course that you've previously passed. It will read your previous attempt at the course, realize that you passed it, and block you from enrolling. So the only way to request to retake a course that you previously passed is through submitting the course enrollment exception form. The second step to request second attempt for credit is to formally request second attempt for credit online. So this is the final sort of request in terms of the final sort of step in requesting that the second attempt grade be counted for your CGPA and your 20 credits for degree as opposed to the first attempt. Usually the second attempt for credit deadline, the request deadline, is at the end of the term in which you're repeating the course. And the reason for that is so that you have time to monitor your progress through your repeated attempt at that course and make an informed decision as to whether or not you're actually going to get a higher grade in your second attempt at that course. So it gives you time to monitor. If you find that it's not going as well as you'd originally hoped that second attempt, it gives you time to drop before the academic drop date or late withdraw out of the course, and that preserves your right to reattempt the course in the future. So as I mentioned before, students can only reattempt a course that they previously passed one time. So if you reattempt the course, and get a final grade in that reattempt, you've exhausted all your attempts at that particular course. Second attempt for credit, you can only use this process for 1.0 credits in total over the duration of your undergraduate degree studies. So you really need to be strategic if you're thinking of using second attempt for credit. If you're in doubt, you might want to connect with an academic advisor, talk to us. We have academic drop-ins. I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the presentation, just to get a sense of whether it's a good idea for you to use second attempt for credit in your particular circumstances you're facing at the moment. And again, all these links, you'll get the PDF at the end of the session. And Claire, I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. So I'm going to speak about something that I know. Okay, so I think in the last slides with Carrie Ann and we talked about students asking questions when they have questions when they come into the Career Center. And so one of the things that we talk about and we ask questions about students is sort of looking at what are their skills and what are their interests, what are things that they value, what's important to them. Because when you're thinking about a career, granted, you are thinking about the major and specialist, minor, and so on. But is the student going to be getting the kinds of skills that they want to use in a career? And would the career allow them to work in areas that they value that they value? And so we look at, and according to this slide, skills, interests, personal style. And then we look at the labor market because one of the things I say to students, and particularly if they're in first or second year, is you've got 4 years to go or you've got 3 years to go. And so what is the labor market going to look like when you graduate? And we have got links to websites that help students to look at career projection and labor market projection, and what are some of whether it's something that they want to pursue. For example, the whole IT industry, one needs to be very careful because AI has now come in and will take over a number of careers, a number of functions. And so if a student is thinking about IT, then they need to consider, okay, so what in IT they're really looking at, and will AI or something born out of AI will then take over that role. And so these are things we ask them to consider. We look at also significant others. Sometimes students, their parents may want them to pursue certain careers that they are not interested in. They don't have the aptitude, maybe. They don't value what those careers would offer. And so we help students to balance all of that and come out with something that that they're comfortable with. And so the first process in meeting a career counselor is sort of a getting to know them and getting some idea of where they want to go. Can I get the next slide, please? On the Career Center website, we have our Quarkus. I call this the petal. And one of the things in order to get experience in or get an understanding of your skills, we encourage students to do the piece on assess yourself, because it really gives, one of the things is that you can say, well, I'm good at speaking and I'm good at writing and I like people and I work well in teams. But this particular petal, it really opens up students to a number of areas that you probably never thought about, and that you realize that you have the skills for. And as you go around, you can see that how you can gain experience. We give students ideas on how to get experience in while they're here on campus. This is an opportunity to explore careers. Where do you go? I mentioned careers by major, but there are other ways in which you can explore careers. And then how do you express your skills? So you learn about these skills and these interests, and then how do you express those? Um, and then pursue learning. Are students interested in pursuing grad school? Are they looking at something else through the 4 years? So I recommend to all students that I see that they go into Purpose on the Career Center website and they kind of play around with this, look at the various, I call them petals, open the various petals and see um, what they can gain from that experience. Next slide, please. So here's the big one. There isn't a student that come into this office that doesn't ask me, what can I do with this degree? Or what career can I get with this degree? A couple of things I need to say. When you graduate, the job that you start probably wouldn't be in the career that you want, especially given these times. And I'm not sure what's happening in the future, but students who graduated this year, for example, the unemployment rate is quite high. And so maybe they will just find something that they can perhaps not use the skills from their major, but use the skills that are transferable, like communication and perhaps working in teams, maybe working on projects and things like that. So there's a myth that says a singular path and program leads to a singular career. So for example, if you did psychology, it doesn't mean that the only thing you can do is work as a psychologist. I want to mention right here, careers by major is something that you can go into on the Career Center website, and then you will get a sense of the variety of careers that comes out of sort of like one program. There is no clear-cut way to get to a particular, from a program to a particular career. And you need to understand, back in the day, people would work and they work for 40 years and they retire and they get a gold watch. That doesn't happen anymore. And so you probably will change careers a few times in your lifetime. You might even decide that you're picking up new careers, getting a new career after a while, depending on the demand. For example, I was talking to a colleague, and there was a guy who did medicine, but he always wanted to be an actor. He wanted to sort of get into the role of acting. And he did. He left medicine after a while and went into acting. So while it is good that you're thinking about, what am I going to do here while I'm here, be open as you think about careers and look at the skills and the interests and sort of the values that you have and come up with a plan B just in case plan A doesn't work. And the other thing is that we're all complex, as human beings, we're complex and we can't be reduced to sort of just one program of study that will then lead us to one career. Keep in mind that when you choose your major and then you may have a minor, you have two majors, you have to look at across the board, are the skills that you're gaining? What's the information that you're getting and how you can use that information? I need to stop here and share something. I have a colleague that she brings in a dog, and his name is Dino. and it's a therapy dog. Now, nobody never thought that the Career Center needed a therapy dog. But one day she was talking to a student who had a therapy dog, and she thought, oh, interesting, good idea for the Career Center. And so she got her dog trained and now is offering sessions with Dino. So here's the point I'm trying to make. When you look at your career, look at areas that maybe if you want to get into a particular area and it's not available, then you need to look at perhaps the organization or the career area and ask yourself, what is missing? What can I develop that would enhance programs or services in a particular organization? And then you do that um, uh, to make yourself marketable. Um, because times have changed and times will continue to change. And so I would like you to keep that in mind. How can you be creative as you approach uh, your career or your area of work? Yeah, and assess your preferences. Uh, know the kinds of things that will help you to develop meaningful experiences. We've got the Job Shadow program, which I'm going to talk about later. We've got In the Field. Try to get as much experience as possible. Maybe you want to work on campus in a work-study program, because all of that will help you to even decide on what you want to get involved in as a career, and how you can use your majors and specialists um, outside of what you were thinking. Next slide, please. And I've mentioned this before, transferable skills. One of the things that employers say is that they hire for skills because they can train the other stuff. And so if you can't communicate, if you don't work well with people, if you don't, you're applying to a company that you have to work within teams, but you have a problem with that, then there are ways in which you can gain experience and develop those skills, because employers look for that. They look for research skills. You need to be able to, when you leave, do some general quantitative and qualitative research, be able to problem solve. And critical thinking is a major one as you get out into the field. Problem solving. And how do you then be creative in your problem solving? Be able to manage yourself, be resilient, because sometimes you have students think, well, this is one way I can go, and that doesn't work, and they shut down, and that's not the best. So be able to resilient, to bounce back, manage stress, be flexible, the ability to read others, what I call, you have to be able to read the room. And so those are skills that you can develop while you're on campus. You can join clubs. You can look at getting involved in leadership positions. And so those things will help you those positions and opportunities will help you to develop these skills. Next, please. Okay. So when you speak with a career counselor, you want to discuss your skills and strengths and preferences. One of the questions I ask is, when you came into the University of Toronto, what were you thinking of doing? What career did you have in mind? Because I want to get a sense of where the student is at. Are they realistic in their thinking thought process? And then we take it from there. usually in the first meeting, we recommend students do some assessments. For example, career cruising on our website. It's in CLNX, and it is in the section for student resources. Career cruising has about 400 careers. Now, I must admit that they haven't been updating their site for a while, but I think it's worthwhile because they match your profile with a number of careers, and you've got the login there to access that. There's a site called Job Bank. I don't have that on here, but if you look it up, there's a site called Job Bank that you may want to begin to look up and sort of access careers also. We have a live chat that's open from 10 to 4, I think, that you will get immediate answers. If you can't get an appointment with a career counselor, then you can speak to live chat and they will probably help you out, or at least they can point you in the right direction. Coming up at the end of the presentation, I've got some information in terms of some new services that the Career Center has introduced this year, which will then also help you to have access to more help from the Career Center. Next slide, please. Career certainty versus career clarity. And by this, I mean students come in and they would say to me, well, when I was in grade 9, I decided that this is what I'm going to do because people were telling me that I'm good with this. However, they had no idea what the career was about. And so when we suggested, well, maybe what you need to do is do some networking, speak to graduates, buy 10,000 coffees, attend some networking. Sometimes those students come back and they say, oh, I don't want to do that, because they had no idea what was involved in the actual performance of that career. So we try to help students to kind of get some career clarity. We stress that they need to sort of look at strengths and values. What are their weaknesses, and what can they do to sort of develop the strengths from those weaknesses? And then we sort of give them opportunity to ask themselves questions, what is the reason for considering this program or career? Sometimes it's because a parent is in that career. Sometimes it's because their parents are requesting that they participate in the career. Sometimes it's because their friend told them it's something good for them. And so it's good to sort of help students to understand what are the reasons, and what are those reasons practical. Then how do those reasons connect with who they really are? And we're going back to interests, values, strengths, skills, personal style. Let me just give you an example of personal style. I cannot work in corporate, and I can't work on Bay Street, simply because my personal style of work is very casual. I don't want to wear a suit. I don't want to get dressed up in heels and look fancy. And so for me, when I looked at my career, and by the way, I didn't have career counseling at university, I just knew that I wanted to be in a place where things were a little bit more casual. And so that is something that I also talk to students about. What is your personal style? And are there other careers that are suitable one of the questions, suitable for them, beyond what they were thinking? I encourage students to make an appointment to see a career counselor. There are 5 of us well, there are 7. 2 career counselors are attached to the International Education Center, and then there are 5 of us in the main office. Next slide, please. All right, so here's the piece. You're here to experience, to learn, um, to meet people, and it's very important that you take the opportunity to make that happen. Um, I just need to pull up this slide. Just give me 1 second. Because I want to make sure that I get everything that I want to say very clearly across. So while you're in university, it's important to take opportunities to build a strong foundation that's going to prepare you for success. And what does that mean? It means that you academically, you try to do the best that you can, and then you step outside of the academics and take opportunities when they come, when they're presented. Use the services that you or your parents are paying for. Remember that the degree is the core of what you're trying to accomplish, but you also need to look at the skills that you're getting and kind of look at research opportunities that if that's an area that you want to get into. I think most programs, if offered, students should register for the ROP because if you can't get into the particular degree that you want, you can also be a research analyst if that's something that you're interested in. You need to step outside of the classroom and join clubs, be able to work, uh, work study, be part of that group, volunteer, which is also important, and sort of develop skills and make contacts that will serve you throughout your time and beyond. We do have an international or an opportunity for students to go out internationally, either to on internships or travel or volunteer, and that is through the IC Center. Next slide, please. When you are finish your degree, maybe students want to go on and do a master's, or they want to get some certification. It's also good to consider options that would match your interests and goal. So, for example, if you did something on a program, maybe in communication, and then you're thinking of HR, you can go into a community college and do the HR program and get the HR certification. Consider postgrad diplomas also. If you're thinking about law, but you don't want to get into law right away, you can look at the paralegal program. Project management is another certification that you could go after. And then there are industry sort of certifications. Continuing studies, you can get micro credentials in marketing and some life sciences. There is another place that students go to if they're into the sciences, and it's called Michener, and they offer postgrad diplomas and I'm not sure if postgrad diplomas here, not certificates, in certain science careers. And so that's something that we encourage students to go after also. Next slide, please. When you meet someone through networking or whatever, however you meet them through at the career fair and you want to find out about what they do, try not to stay on the surface. What you want to know is how did they get where they are, but what were the challenges? Sort of how did they deal with failure? What were some of the sacrifices that they had to make? What are some of the good habits that you need to develop to then get into that career? And how did they deal with disappointment? Because the thing about it is that everything that you see below the surface is what every person that's out there deal with at some point or the other. And so it's good to take the opportunity to speak with people and figure out how that they handle these situations. And then you can look at the best way that you would like to handle something when it comes up. Just don't look at the success, because we tend to see where people are at and what they have and how well they're doing, but you have no idea what they had to go through to get where they are. Next slide, please. So sometimes students in the Career Center come in and they're being held back from making certain decisions, whether it's family commitment, maybe a medical issue, not managing their time well, uh, don't have enough money. And these are things that you can share if you share it within the Career Center, within the counseling meeting. We can then help you and point you in the right direction in terms of where do you go? Do you go to accessibility? Do I send you back to the registrar's office? Or do you go down to Health and Counseling Center? How do you go to, how do we help you to manage those particular areas? Maybe you got to go to the OSAP office and sort of talk to them about some financial issue. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Next slide, please. So basically, for our piece, I would advise you to sort of meet with a career counselor and sort of talk about programs and alternatives and what's the next step. And no time is too early, because the more time you have, it's the more you can think about and think things that you want to do, and the more experience you can gain, the more things you can try out, the more opportunities you have to apply for perhaps work study or an internship or research opportunity. So it's best to start early. And then we sort of help you to prepare for managing challenges that you may have. I think for me, the worst feeling is when a student comes in and says, I graduate next April and I'm not sure what I want to do. And basically, or the student comes in and says, I'm graduating next April and I want to get into teaching, but teaching requires 300 hours of volunteer work or some sort of exposure to working with youth or children, and they haven't done anything. So between now and April, now and when they have to apply, if they're going in next year, they cannot meet those requirements. And so I suggest that students come in early. Let's talk about possibly, I mean, you don't have to it doesn't have to be written in stone, but at least some options that you may have to begin to look at how you prepare for the next steps. We have two employment strategists that work with students to help them think about if you're graduating and then you go into employment, how do you prepare? How do they help you to get your resume together, a cover letter, that type of thing, and how to access employers and the best way to get your job search going. Okay, Melanie, I think it's yours. Meet with an
Yes,
academic
thanks, Claire.
advisor.
Just on this slide, just an overview of what you might want to consider meeting with an academic advisor to discuss. Um, your academic strengths, your areas of interest, understanding program entry requirements, and creating that plan to reach your goals. Just like we talked about in the scenarios, the different scenarios that we presented today, creating that plan, using the planning tool in Degree Explorer, working with that before you come in to meet with an academic advisor, working with the CGPA calculator to if there's program admission requirements that include the minimum CGPA. That helps the academic advisor, as Claire said, better know what your goals are and be able to sort of offer alternate options, that plan B, suggestions. The key thing to know when you meet with an academic advisor is that ultimately it's your decision which pathway you're going to pursue. The academic advisor is there to support you, bring forward some aspects that maybe you didn't consider, options, maybe program options. We talked about the geospatial data science program instead of computer science. So things like that, we help you navigate and understand the academic calendar. And the great thing too is it's easier than ever to reach us. So I'll talk about that in a few slides next, a little bit further on in the presentation. We have drop-ins where it's really easy to come in and talk with an academic advisor. But as Claire said, in terms of meeting with a Career Center counselor, it's always great to do a little bit of preparation so you can make the best use of your time when you come in and meet with an academic advisor as well.
So this is some information about how you can contact us. We've got a live chat, as I said, and it's open from 10 to 4. And then you can contact us through you can call in or you can email for an appointment or um, to set up a meeting a brief meeting of some sort. We do have drop-ins. We sort of work with the Office of the Registrar, and those are usually on. Melanie, are they on your site? They're usually on our site, on the
Yes, they're
Career Center
usually in the
site. Yeah.
Student Services Hub.
Okay. Okay.
And Dino's usually there too.
Yeah. And it's the hub is kind of like next to the hello desk. And so we look forward to seeing you when you do come in. For the registrar, you've got their website and then their webinars and group advising. And then there's the Ask Registrar. And I think, Melanie, you
Yes,
can
yeah.
then expand on that.
Yeah, Claire, thank you. Yeah, the Ask Registrar is a great way to submit a ticket with a question for the academic advising team. Our team can review it. They can make a determination whether or not we should schedule a one-on-one advising appointment with you to discuss your inquiry further. Sometimes we can actually, if you give us enough information in the detailed description section of the ticket, sometimes with that information, we can give you the answer right via a ticket response. So you don't have to wait as long for a one-on-one advising appointment, or we might encourage you to come and join us at a drop-in. I'll speak, as I say, to the drop-ins and their timing I think there's another slide that addresses that. But yes, the ticket system is a great way to reach out on an initial basis, and then we can direct you in terms of what's the best way to access us and get some more information. The webinars and group advising sessions link there that's going to be in that PDF that we share with you. That has all the information about all the sessions. You probably were on that page to register for this session. Just know that you're more than welcome to register for any session that you see on that webinars page. I think we have getting back on track, I think is being offered next week. Some of our colleagues in the academic advising team are presenting that as well. In conjunction with the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center. But this is the slide I was talking about. Our academic advisors offer drop-in sessions, weekly drop-in support during the fall-winter session. During the fall-winter session, we offer it 2 times a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, we have our virtual session as opposed to academic advising office hours, which are in person. We offer a virtual Zoom FAQ Friday session pretty much every Friday in the fall-winter term. So, pardon me, fall-winter session. And then, as Claire mentioned, we have our academic and career planning drop-ins. I believe the next one is scheduled for September 23rd in the Student Services Hub, where we join the Career Center team. And as I mentioned, Dino is usually there as well. So that's always nice. And then the other thing I wanted to say, sort of because it sort of correlates with this presentation, is that we have program selection workshops coming up. November the 4th, around this same time period, 10 to 11:30 a.m. Those program selection workshops, especially for first-year students who are just beginning their first year now, will give you a better idea of that whole process that Nagarish was talking about of the program selection period, round 1 and round 2 in the spring, and what that entails, just to help you be aware of it and better position yourself to apply for the programs that you're interested in. And Claire, I think this is you.
Yeah, we talked about Dino, and everybody knows Dino. The next session with Dino is the 24th at between 3 and 4 in the student hub. Or you could drop by. Sometimes Dino is on campus and not with any scheduled appointment, but you can drop by and check him out in his office, because he does have an office. Next slide, please. And so this is new. We introduced career talks, and so these are students who are working with us to kind of answer general career questions and perhaps help students to navigate some of the areas that they're not too sure about. And then maybe if they cannot answer the question, they would suggest that you maybe meet with a career counselor or um, uh, uh, somebody else who can help you in another department, maybe in the registrar office, um, uh, or some in the IEC. All right, so that's new. Next slide, please. Information on, I would suggest that you begin to look at careers by major. It's really, really helpful. You can find it on our website. If you go into the menu and then you go across to careers by major, we've got tip sheets on various programs that we have. You can access those. CLN, you can book appointments. Now, if you would like someone to look at your resume because you intend to attend the job fair next Wednesday, you do not have to make an appointment. You can make the appointment online for yourself. And then there's some great resources in CLNX also. And then My Career Center Online. It's a lot of self-directed learning. We've got workshops that you can listen to. And then there's the what I call the flower that you can access in terms of skills and assess yourself and things of that nature. Next slide, please. All right, the Get Hired Fair is next Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Rock. And if you can make it, I would suggest you do, because then you're you can look at possible arranging internships or summer employment for next year or volunteer opportunities. And if you are graduating next year, it would be good also. Um, or if you're thinking, because normally what happens, companies hire this year for next year or the year after. So it's good to get acquainted with industry and get yourself known and make contacts. First Gen, we introduced this program this year for students who are the first in their family to attend university in Canada. And yesterday was the first session, and there are 5 sessions. The next session is the 23rd of September. We've got 2 sessions in November and then 2 sessions in October, sorry, and 1 in November. And every week of the session, we will advertise on the Career Center website what those sessions will cover. It's drop-in. You could register, you can just drop in. So I encourage students to participate in that. And we really started this program because we found that a lot of first-gen students didn't know what they didn't know. And so we felt that this would be helpful to as an extra guide and support for them. And so even if you're not first year, but you're second year and you're still first generation or third year first generation, it's also good for those students. Next slide. We are introducing group counseling this semester, and this is starting sometime soon. I can't read the date, but it's being facilitated by another colleague of mine. And all of this information you can get from the Hello Desk or from the table that is opposite the Hello Desk in the hallway, or you can get it online in the Career Center website, or you can come into the Career Center and grab a small flyer. This year, and this is a big one, we introduced the Career Counseling 100. It's the Career and Work Readiness Program. They started with the first cohort this week, and this program you have to register for. I'm not sure if they're still accepting students, but if you go on the Career Center website, you can read more about the Career and Work Readiness Program. Basically, what has happened is instead of all of these workshops that we have, we've combined everything to put into this program. You will get a CCR credit when you attend the Career and Work Readiness Program. Is there another slide? I'm not sure. Job Shadow. This is really, really a good program to help students to understand to get some career clarity. I think I mentioned career certainty versus career clarity. And so you apply to the program, and then you're matched with a particular organization, and it's over 3 to 5 days, I think, but it's not consecutive. So you can do a day this week, and then you go back for a day next week. And learn get an inside understanding of what certain careers are about. There's also something called In the Field, and that is where students register. For example, they're going to Trillium Hospital in Mississauga, and you register and you spend half a day on site meeting different people and looking at different careers, different job functions, and so on. And so that is called In the Field. You also get that on our website that you can register for. Then we have a new program called 3P Proud powerful and professional. And this program is especially in particular for the LGBTQ plus community on campus. Is there another slide? I'm not sure. Yes, and thank you for joining us. I know that I need to apologize because I stumbled and sort of, but I'll finally get it together the next time.
Claire, thank you. I always learn something from you every webinar that we do.
Oh,
All
Melanie,
these
you're most
programs.
kind.
That is
It's just,
fantastic.
it's a lot of information to keep in my head.
It's a lot of information.
That was
But
fantastic.
yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I know we have a couple of questions in the chat, so
Okay.
I
Actually, I'm
know
going to
we're
stop. Sorry to interrupt, Nagaris, just so everybody knows, I'm going to stop recording now. So the question and answer section will not be part of the recording, just in case that makes you more comfortable asking a couple of questions. So I'm stopping the recording now.